Egghead Talk here. Today we're going to be talking about the 3 Russian players who were signed this week and how these 3 players may all be Calder contenders next year. But before we get into today's video, join my Discord, link in the description. And if you do go on to enjoy today's video, please consider leaving a like, subscribing, and turn on post notifications to tune in for future content. Now, let's get into the video. So this week, 3 elite prospects were signed to their respective NHL teams. And all 3 of these players happen to be born in Russia, and they all happen to play on the same KHL team, CSKA Moscow. These 3 players are Kaprizov, Alexander Romanov, and Ilya Sorokin. Despite these 3 all being signed before the playoffs, they are not allowed to play until next season, or at least not allowed to play in a game until next season. So we will not see any of these guys until the next season, and the next season will be delayed. So all the hype of Kaprizov, Romanov, and Sorokin coming to their cities to play will probably be lost for quite a while, because these guys won't play for months and months. Honestly, I'm surprised these players signed despite not being able to play until maybe even next year, because they could have easily stayed in the KHL for one more year and they would have played earlier and maybe even played more games. You never really know. The NHL season might be shortened next year. It hasn't been confirmed, but they may have actually been better off development-wise playing in the KHL. Since it's tough to refer to all these players as these 3 for the whole video, instead, I'm going to talk about them all separately. So firstly, let's talk about Ilya Sorokin. Sorokin was selected 78th overall by the New York Islanders in the 3rd round of the 2014 NHL Draft. Sorokin was signed on Tuesday, July 14th to a 1-year, $2 million contract. Sorokin is considered one of the league's best goaltending prospects. He has been an absolute beast in the KHL with a 1.50 goals against average and a .935 save percentage. He had 26 wins and 13 losses with CSKA Moscow as a 24-year-old turning 25 in the 2nd best league in the world. His numbers are monstrous, and he could be like Ilya Samsonov, where he comes in and immediately makes the starting position and makes an immediate impact. Since Sorokin started playing in the KHL, he has put up amazing numbers, and in his time in the KHL, he has never had more than a 1.61 goals against average or less than a .929 save percentage. So based on these numbers, it's pretty evident that he is NHL ready, and he will probably be ready to take over the starting position for the Isles. And that is actually a pretty decent compliment, as the Isles have both Thomas Greiss and Semyon Varlamov. The Isles could quite literally have a Vezina contending goaltender in a few years. I think Sorokin is 100% an elite talent, and some, including me, would say that he is sort of a franchise talent. Just by looking at his numbers, you can tell that he is NHL ready. And yes, he is 24, but goalies do take longer to develop. And even when he was young, he was still putting up these amazing numbers in the KHL. So he's not good because of his experience. He is good because he is straight up talented and has a lot of skill. I think that Sorokin will be NHL ready next year. I think he also will probably take over the starting position, and I think he could maybe win the Calder. He is that good. Yes, goaltenders don't usually win the Calder, but it's still pretty decently possible, as it is one of the hardest to predict trophies, so you never know what will really happen. But just to be realistic, I am going to say that Sorokin will be a Calder contender. I'm not going to guarantee anything, but I think it is a possibility that he'll definitely be a contender. It's a lot more realistic than him winning the Calder, so I think he'll just be a very good rookie next year, as he just seems like he's very, very NHL ready. Now, let's talk about Alexander Romanov. On July 13th, the Montreal Canadiens signed Alexander Romanov to a 3-year entry-level contract with an annual average of $1.17 million. He will burn the first year of his contract, and he will be able to practice with the Canadiens. But he can't play a game just like all of these players, until the 2020-21 season. Romanov was selected 38th overall by the Montreal Canadiens in the 2018 draft. So, of the 3 players, he is the youngest player. Romanov has been hyped up all season long. He has only played 2 seasons in the KHL, and he has 11 points in 86 games. But he's still extremely hyped up, and he looks very promising. And his numbers may not seem good, but it is. His numbers are pretty good for a 20-year-old. As in CSKA Moscow, the team, they don't play young players very much. So it's surprising that he's putting up more points than some top 10 pick forwards. I think he actually scored more than Podkolzin this year, and Podkolzin's one of the best prospects in the league. His numbers aren't as impressive as the next player, but he is a defenseman. Of the 3 players I mentioned in today's video, I think Romanov is the least likely for the Calder. You could argue that he has more of a chance compared to Sorokin, but Romanov hasn't had nearly as much time to develop that Sorokin and Kaprizov have had. So, of course, he's going to be less skilled. But I think in the future, he will still be a very, very, very good player. Like I mentioned, really young players do get played less in the KHL, and especially on CSKA Moscow. So Romanov stats do suffer because of that. So let's look at his World Juniors stats. Last year in the World Juniors, he had 8 points in 7 games with Russia. These numbers are quite good, and he was a point per game while playing against some of the league's youngest and highest potential players. This year, he had 6 points in 7 games, which is a downgrade from last year, but it is still very good. So, Romanov's numbers aren't exactly impressive, but stats don't tell everything, and he may not have impressive stats, but in the time that he gets to play, he plays very well. He is a great skater, he is good offensively, and he plays physically despite only weighing 182 pounds and standing at 5'11". Romanov is at least an elite talent. I can see him in the future scoring 40 to 70 points per season. Next year, I think he'll be one of the best defensemen on the Canadiens, and he will help them out a lot as they need some defensive reinforcements. Imagine him with Weber on the top line. That would be a deadly combination. Romanov has a bright future ahead of him, and the fact that I am ranking him among mega prospects such as Kirill Kaprizov and Ilya Sorokin is very, very, very promising, especially for a 20-year-old. Now, let's talk about Kirill Kaprizov. On July 13th, the Minnesota Wild signed Kirill Kaprizov to a 2-year entry-level contract. Kaprizov was selected 135th overall by the Minnesota Wild in the 5th round of the 2015 draft, and it's safe to say that that pick was a 100% steal, as Kaprizov is an absolute beast, and he's one of, if not maybe even the best international prospect in the world. It's safe to say that this pick was way more than a 5th round pick, and I have Kaprizov up there as one of the most likely Calder candidates for next year. Kaprizov is at least an elite talent, without a doubt, and I consider him a franchise talent. Every season Kaprizov has played in the KHL has been close to, if not above, a point per game, which is absolutely amazing. Even in his first year in the KHL, he had 42 points in 49 games. That is really, really good if you're unaware. He has been one of the best KHL players for the past few years, and that says a lot, as the KHL is the 2nd best hockey league in the world. So that means he'll be ready, and he'll be ready to be a big impact player next year. And also, in the KHL, they don't really give young players that much ice time. So the fact that he had 42 points in his rookie season is just amazing, and the fact that he's almost a point per game every season is really, really good. This guy is going to be amazing. Kaprizov is going to be the piece the Wild will build around to make their new team. He will be the cornerstone player of their team, and I think of the 3 players, he is easily the one with the brightest future, and he is by far the most likely to win the Calder. all three of these players are very likely to win the Calder Trophy. But if I were to give you a ranking, I'd say Kaprizov is 1 by a lot. I'd say Romanov, I guess, could be 2. I mean, Sorokin is pretty close to Romanov. I'll give Romanov 2 because he's a defenseman, and defensemen win the Calder more than goaltenders do, and Sorokin would be 3. But all of these guys are going to be the stars of the future. Anyways, thank you guys for watching today's video. Thank you, you listening right there. Thank you so much for watching to the end of today's video. If you enjoyed it, please consider subscribing to tune in for more content coming out very frequently. Also, join my Discord to talk to me whenever you want. I'd love to hear your guys' ideas as well. So if you want to join my Discord chat, link in the description. And until next time, bye.